So let's get in. So the career framework. Hello, to introduce myself, I'm Toby. I'm the lead of booking and self service. I'm an engineering manager. So normally most of my time I'm actually dealing with development, but I'm also sort of responsible or one of the main people behind our mechanism to help people grow their careers. So it's kind of awkward that it's me, but sometimes that's how we roll, and it's actually one of the good things that we as engineers are owning these aspects of our life. So I actually find it very good, this kind of way of working. So what this career framework is actually about. So like in short, the problem statement here is what you can see on the screen. So you may have asked these questions before to yourself. How do I grow my career? How do I grow my career? Like how do I get to the next level? How can I get promoted? With that comes questions like, am I compensated fairly? Am I performing well? What is actually expected from me? So this is like, if you actually like think long term about how being a developer, or like not just a developer, but an employee, you want to get better over time. These are very natural questions that you have. And with the career framework, we try to answer these questions in a way that supports everybody and gives everybody a way forward. We'll get in more details right away. Just a little bit of history, like Kiwi.com before. So it was a classic startup, like very fast, very organic. Focus on the product, on building great things, but some parts along the way maybe were a bit forgotten. This organic approach applies to salary raises and promotions as well, which leads to the typically problematic patterns that there's no really transparency, there's no proper mechanism to reward growth, there is no real clear way to go up. If you are in a certain positions, there is no signs showing you in which way to go. And there was also no support for managers to grow their people. Unless you were actually experienced and trained elsewhere, it was kind of hard to help your people. So these are all the things that we try to fix with the career framework. To formalize it a little bit, these are the two main goals, which are even listed on the original RFC that we created for this when we started this project a year ago. So the first point, that the goal is to provide a clear career path with concrete, explicit, and unified work expectations. That's number one. Number two, a comprehensive mechanism to fairly evaluate and compensate performance and growth. So the first thing is like basically defining the what we want to do, like where you can grow, what is expected from you, and the second is how we measure that, so that it's so it's actually fair and not really ad hoc. Now, to be to get specific, what you can see is our career path for software engineers. We use generic levels. It's kind of like a pretty standard thing to do in the industry. So actually, that's important to say that we haven't invented a wheel with this framework, but what really matters are the implementation details of how well you actually do it and how serious you are about it. So this is kind of like the goal, the theme for the rest of the presentation, to actually show you that we are serious about it and what it looks like in detail. So like the first part is the career path, as in like where do you grow. You have like basically the standard stuff, like you start as a junior software engineer, you can go up to a senior software engineer, and then you can kind of choose between focusing more on people management, going up to L7 engineering manager or beyond, or rather on like direct hands-on work. So like L7 is a principal engineer. Another important concept are obviously the expectations, that for every level we sort of we defined universal expectations for the whole of Kiwi in terms of like hard skills, soft skills, and the general behavior that we expect from all engineers on a given level. So there's an example for an L5, that's senior software engineer. That should be the target for most our people, and what we are really looking there is kind of the not only technical excellence but also really strong soft skills in terms of I understand what my team is doing and where it fits in the high-level Kiwi.com architecture, and I can kind of think beyond my team. I can lead a project which crosses multiple teams, or at least have some kind of initiative to go out of your team, create like a technical design, explain it to other engineers, get their buy-in, etc. So it's like maybe the TLDR of what we expect of F5 software engineers. There you have some more details on the screen, but obviously there is way more into that. There is like one really important, let's say, I would call it an axiom that we agreed on when we started the whole thing, that for us performance kind of corresponds to the seniority. We almost treat them as equal, which basically means that we care about your skills, but not really that you apply them, how to put it correctly. Like if you fix $50 and then you go to $100, like it's nice, but that's not a reason to be promoted. We actually want to get better at what you do, and that translate into more impact that you have in the company. To put it simple, we want people to work smarter, not harder. Like obviously this is Kiwi, this is a startup. Sometimes, I mean, still a startup to some extent. Sorry, it's important. It's sometimes necessary to push a little harder, work a little bit overtime. Before it was maybe part of the culture, but with this care framework, we are definitely shifting this to really care about the skills and what you can do, rather than you staying late in the evenings and getting stuff done. So now, like, how do we actually measure it? So it's worth mentioning, like it started a year ago, so we have like 12 months of this running, and in that period of time, we have started this 6-month cycle of performance reviews, where simply the managers look at all their people and kind of try to assess the performance. And with all these concepts that were explained before, it's this mechanism is like fairly simple. You just take what the person did, we call it track record, no surprise there, and compare it against the level expectations. And if the track record is there, like, then no problem. If it's actually better, then good for you. You are growing, you are approaching the next level, you can get promoted soon, maybe. If there is if there's missing, if you are on a level which requires you to do certain things, but you haven't really, it's clear that you haven't showed it and you should have showed it, then maybe something is not happening, maybe something is not going that well, and that's a moment to start to have a conversation. We actually try to have very hard to frame it as a way to incentive, like as a positive incentive. So there's no, this is not linked to compensation in a way that if you underperform based on the career framework, you lose money or you will get into trouble. It's more like a little nudge. We need to start talking about what's happening right now. So we've tried really hard to make it like a positive, as a tool to help people, to help managers, rather than punish anybody. So sorry, let me just close this. With that, how do we actually promote people? Like we do exactly the same thing, right? So we look at how each person works, and then compare to the level of the expectations of the next level. And if there is a strong track record that the expectations for the next level are met, we promote that person. It's simple as that. The difference here is that for promotions, which happen through the 6-month cycle, we do have company-wide committees to kind of assess that. Basically, the idea is the bunch of the most senior engineers sit together in a room, like a Zoom room these days, and they discuss the candidates and they talk about like whether they do meet the level expectations that we have from them. This slide kind of shows that we are serious about this. This is not just like a plan that we have. We have done this. We are right now actually finishing up the second round of promotions. This is from the previous round in Q4. So just to give you some hint of the scale, like for Kiwi, what happens, like Kiwi currently has around 300 engineers. So last round we had 10 candidates for senior software engineers. The committee consisted of 17 members. It was led by a VP of engineering, which is like one of the most senior folks in the company, definitely in terms of like engineering, like technical skills. Each candidate had a written promo rationale, which explained the track record and why the candidate meets the expectations. Altogether, it was worth more than like 50 pages, probably way more. Some of the rationales were kind of like very exhausting. The process took like 3 iterations, 4 hours total, just in meetings, plus all the preparation and discussions around that. And in that process, we promoted 5 cases immediately. For 3, there were like tough discussions where more data were needed, and 2 people were denied. This is, again, maybe it may sound like tough or maybe rough, but the idea is really that we want to care about like our engineering level, how good our engineers are, and ultimately, like by this we are creating role models, and we need to make sure that we have good role models in a company. So when somebody gets the title of a senior software engineer at Kiwi.com, it means something. It's not just that you have been writing JavaScript for 10 years and you get a senior title. No, at Kiwi.com you actually need to meet a certain bar, and more senior people need to be convinced that you are actually meeting that bar. So it's an achievement, and we are actually really proud of our senior software engineers. Are like great people in the company. Here's like a little summary of how the experience has been for us so far. So let's start with the good stuff. What I really like is that we grow together just by setting the bar, which is unified across the company. It immediately starts to like ironing out the differences, and it pushes people to start doing the right thing. Like, I mean, one of the things is like typical, like let's say writing technical specification up front. It's not always needed, but when it's not needed and it doesn't happen, like everybody pays the price, and the level expectations are kind of designed in a way that they really promote this culture of doing proper technical discovery. And we are seeing it all over the company that like people now they understand how it's useful, but they actually have an incentive to do it properly. So this is great. That's related to the second point. Like we motivate each other, like by seeing other candidates who start doing that, setting the right example for people who have been promoted. You start doing that yourself. So it's great to actually push people to get better and to get actually fairly rewarded afterwards. We learn from each other. Like I have actually already said that, but I would even go beyond that and saying that I've been part of pretty much all the promotion committees we have had here. And what's great about them, that are people from all over Kiwi. Like we have 300 engineers. It's not like the biggest engineering company you have ever seen, but it's big enough so that there are parts who don't really get in touch with each other, and they kind of create these like isolated islands of like doing things differently. But suddenly through this mechanism, we sit together and we learn about like what that person on the other side of the company that I have never heard about done great for the company, like great engineering solutions. And again, it's a learning experience, but it's also a motivation to like, I mean, it's a reason to feel proud about actually seeing on the paper, like black on white on the paper, that what we do here is good. Finally, maybe the most important point is that the direct feedback from the engineers is kind of positive. Like obviously this is a formal process. We are learning it on the go, but because it's actually built by engineers for engineers, there isn't like strong pushback or riot against this. And while there are some rough edges, we can get better at it, and it feels good so far. Now, like, to actually show that it's not all rainbows and unicorns, there obviously is space for improvement to make it even better. Like obviously, if you like the first point, if you put all engineers, start measuring the engineers by the same bar across the company from different domains and backgrounds, like the unified level doesn't immediately work for everybody. Like our goal is still to keep it that way, so that agree on things that every engineer should do, but obviously we need to account for, like, let's say tech differences, domain differences, and make it more useful for literally everybody. The second point, we are kind of like, we don't have any tooling. The problem is that if you invent your own workflow and your framework, there is like not immediately any tool that you can use for that. So we're basically rocking spreadsheets and app script. It works, it can get better. And with that, the organization is obviously challenging. It's like, it takes time to organize. It takes time to, let's say, review promotion analysis. It takes time to sit together and discuss it. Well, we do believe that it still makes sense, and that we can get better at it. So to actually reduce the cost while making the value of that even bigger. So actually, like, it's a new thing for us, but after like 12 months, it's has started showing the benefits, and it started yielding results. We are learning on the go and iterating fast. Like that's the Kiwi way, and the future in this regard is good. That's basically it from my side. Like there's a contact on me, like my company email, and also my private website if you want to know more about me, about my background. And I think we have a little bit of time for questions, and I'll be sticking around in that other Zoom room. Thank you.
Yep. We have just 2 minutes for questions, so I will just pick a few random ones. I just want to mention that everything what is not answered will stay for AMA, which will be in the end, and we can answer your all unanswered questions over there. So the first question, does the promotions take into consideration a minimum time of a performing or the number of deliveries?
Yes, so we basically, the requirement is that we want to see consistent and reliable performance on the next level. So practically it means that you kind of need to deliver, you need to show that behavior that we want to see on that level for a non-trivial period of time. The rule of thumb is usually like at least 6 months. So if over the 6 months you have delivered a few projects or finished some started another ones, and there's like confidence that you can do it, then we promote people.
Okay, thank you, Tobiáš. Unfortunately, we don't have time anymore to continue with the questions, so